Welcome, everybody.
Gary, you're live.
Hey, guys. Well, it's I can still hear that music going. So it's just like really grooving.
That's because you probably got it playing in the background.
Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Minefield.
Thanks for having us.
You're supposed to say I'm Keith.
Oh, I thought it was the Hollywood Squares. Oh,
Wait,
okay.
we're one box short of the Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch. This is
Who
so
can we bring
distressing.
in?
Oh, no
Alice,
way.
where's Alice?
Yeah, 'cause there's a lot of sausage in this room.
So to my immediate right here on your right, the audience, that's Charlie, my buddy from when we were younger. And of course, over on the far right is Tom. On the middle left is Script Doctor.
Hello.
And in the Paul Lynn box is none other than Mikey Sutton from Geekosity Magazine, one of the number one scoopers in the world, period.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Yeti
you.
Cast is over to his right. And then on the bottom left is the one and only Andre from Midnight's Edge.
Greetings.
And on the bottom right, for some reason, because he was late to his own fucking show, is Keith Moncrief.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to Pop Culture Minefield.
The first thing I wanted to say is I wish I had Andre's accent. Can you imagine how many women I win over with that accent?
Yeah,
of
you
his?
finally heard
Oh
him.
my God! I mean, it's like a James Bond villain or something. You know?
Yes.
What an accent!
I often hear that either like James Bond or Die Hard villain, usually one of the two.
Time to die, Bond.
Which ties right into the fact that Mikey refers to Keith and I as Lethal Weapon.
Oh, you guys are. I mean, your chemistry is like I'm too old for this shit. You know.
Yeah. And of course, I'm Murtaugh. Keith is Rick. And but we are here to talk to Mikey today because Mikey has a very special scoop that I guess we'll save her for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll save that one for a bit.
But we're going to talk about some of the shit that's been going down with the number one. We're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Because we are literally on the cusp of it being released.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And but also, why on earth did they choose to release Godzilla versus Kong later? Isn't that odd?
Yeah, I just kind of suspicious, right? Raise your suspicious eyebrow now, you know.
Yeah, well, this is the time for Keith to jump in and go, fucking Hamada, fucking.
What is it with black guys not liking Walter Hamada?
I call them the new Dumb and Dumber duo of Toby and Walter.
Yeah, well, we always joke like, Toby Maguire, what do you have against Toby Maguire? But he's, of course, talking about Toby Emmerich.
And I'll let you guys know there is a surprise appearance by Amber Heard in today's broadcast.
Oh, God.
Talk a little bit about that as well that I haven't really discussed on the site. But let's just say I've heard a lot of things lately that I haven't even written about.
Wow.
But I figured it's a perfect platform to reveal some of the information I have.
I know I'm always wary when there's a surprise from Amber Heard. I think
everybody is. But
Flushed with excitement.
Go for it. Go ahead and start, and whatever. Go ahead and ask me your questions about DC.
Well, let's start right there. What have you heard about Amber Heard?
Oh man, see, here's the thing. There's been a lot of rumors going back and forth about her being fired and so on and so forth. I'm here to tell you right now the chances of her getting fired or getting her scenes cut or whatnot are very slim to none. And the reason for that is she's got some pretty major supporters at Warner Brothers. Including Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich. They're both firmly on her side. They're huge supporters of her. So if you're wondering why is she still in the film? And there's been talk of her being in the third film. I can confirm right now she's going to be in the third movie, and she's not going to go anywhere. But Hamada and Emmerich are on her side. And so I wouldn't say they're big fans of hers, but if the reason why she's still there, the reason why she's still getting support from them, like support from Warner, is because of mainly those two. But James Wan is also on her side, and frankly, so is Zack Snyder. So if you guys are wondering, like, hey, what is going on with Amber Heard? Is like, you can say like Teflon or something. I mean, she's not get going anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, she's got support from the top.
Well, it's clear that she's got something going on because society as a whole, majority-wise, loathe her, but yet she's still going strong.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not surprised that Zack Snyder's got her back because if anything that I've learned about Zack Snyder is he's a terrible judge of character.
Thank you and good night, folks. That's all
that was the closing of the show.
Script, just I don't tell you enough. I love you.
I secretly tell him all the time, but he keeps buffing
yeah,
me.
he told me he wants you to quit doing that, or he's going to call the cops.
But any other questions, Andre?
Yeah, I would like to know. Okay, we get that Zack Snyder, he is a terrible judge of character.
Yes.
But what of Hamada and Emmerich? Because Emmerich, he is someone that should be on thin ice already.
Yeah.
Because all the misery that happened with the Snyder cut, even with the Whedon cut, he approved it all every step of the way. And not only that, he also approved everything that Zack Snyder did before that ultimately didn't work. Emmerich approved everything. So like Hamada is guiltless in that. But why are the two of them so much in Amber Heard's court? Has she put a hex on them? Are they charmed? Are they smitten with her? Or is there some other reason that they just decided that we don't like this Johnny Depp guy, despite everyone else in the industry having nothing but amazing stuff to say about him? Why have they chosen that she's the one they want to go with, even when they see the public tide is turning against her in a very big way, and having her in future movies is going to be a liability for those movies?
It is.
I mean, I want to see Amber's third T-shirts that you may have seen that we have made all across the board leading up to Aquaman 2. It's going to be like the new Soilo shirts is my ambition there. Even the bed sheets and everything. And like, if you haven't seen it, it's like our own little image of her being in the process of leaving a parting gift for Johnny Depp on his bed. So why would they go down with this liability that she represents?
Well, let's just say Warner Brothers doesn't have a reputation for making great decisions.
Really?
Let me give you a short history real quick on this Toby Emmerich. He started at New Line, and his first big movie that he like wrote and did all this shit with was Frequency, and they ended up getting sued for that. Like, I guess they ended up stealing the script from some. Yeah, and then he ended up going over to Warner Brothers, and he's been there now for what, Mikey? Like almost 20 years or so.
Yeah, been there for a while. Well, they took victory laps with Joker. I mean, they're taking full credit for that, even though they didn't want to get it made in the first place. I mean,
they did all kind of stuff to block that movie, especially Emmerich really tried to block that.
Yeah, they didn't want it to happen. See, and I mentioned this with the Snyder Cut. I wrote about this before. I said, these guys are going to take credit for, getting this released, but privately they're picking in their mouths. They don't like Snyder. They don't like his films. They obviously supported them in the beginning, but when they didn't do as well as they wanted them to do, they were pretty upset by it. And all of a sudden, the Snyder Cut gets announced, and they had nothing to do with it. It was AT&T that kept pushing it to get made. That and pressure from The Rock, who really wanted that universe to continue. Hamada and Emmerich, no, man, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. They wanted it to go away, and that's why I said, okay, they announced it officially, but deep down, those guys don't want this thing to exist.
And the reason they don't want it to exist is because it's impeding them from having their own version of the MCU.
Yeah, exactly, which is what they really want, honestly. They really want their own MCU. They want that crowd-pleasing tone, which works for Kevin Feige, but they don't have a central visionary to do something like that. And
that's right. And it's hard to come up with one.
Oh yeah, totally. It's never done before. If you think about it, who has done 22 films like that where it's like one storyline?
Well, I mean, you'd also have to you'd also have to think of it this way. I don't think half the problems that they've incurred over the last 10 years would have been problems if somehow they had not have gotten rid of Alan Horn.
Yeah.
Alan Horn used to work at Warner Brothers, and that's the happy fact about Marvel's success, the MCU success, because Alan Horn has been there for all of that. He's kept his streak going because he was the one that approved Harry Potter. He approved The Matrix. I mean, he was there for all of that early success that Warner's had. And then they let him go.
And those were the giant franchises back then. I mean, what would they have done without those franchises, like Harry Potter and Matrix? Those are huge. $1 movies.
Yeah. But it's amazing what has transpired with Disney since they've had Alan Horn.
Yeah.
And just think of what he would have done had he stayed at Warner Brothers.
Oh, you would have seen a much better, a picture than what you're seeing now. It's a total mess at Warner.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for a while. The thing is, they wouldn't leave Zack Snyder alone. And Dawn of Justice didn't break the bank like they thought it would, and they blamed everything on him.
Despite them having done approved of everything and being the ones that insisted he make it in the first place, because let us never forget, Zack Snyder wanted to make Man of Steel Part 2. They didn't let him. They said do Batman v Superman instead, and then they approved of everything he wanted to do in it, but then they turn around and they point the fingers at him afterwards. That's like what has me like annoyed with this.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when it was called Superman versus Batman before they flipped it and put Batman the center, the prominent, on the first marquee of that film, and the reason they did that is they did not. Warner Brothers was really irked about the reception to Man of Steel. It was not what they wanted, and regardless of what a lot of people say about it, it wasn't primarily a Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer making all the decisions there. There were some at Warner Brothers, but Zack Snyder was already in a position where he could do a lot more. He had a huge success after Watchmen. So to say that he just, towed the line and did what he wanted, or did what the studio wanted over a Man of Steel and not the other way around is ridiculous. I've actually heard people say that Zack Snyder had to do all these things that Warner Brothers wanted, and Warner was like, no, they weren't entirely hands off, but they were not over his shoulder every second of the day saying you got to do it this way. They gave him some latitude, like a lot more than you would expect for this.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Like
well,
that's what I mean. That they. Yeah, sorry, that he was the one who decided the vision, but they approved of it. Where they could have stopped him, they didn't.
Right. And I think the other problem was they changed leaders how many times just in the midst of making BVS and Justice League.
Oh, man, that was like falling dominoes back then. That was like, who's going to get their head chopped off next? Here's the thing. Warner Brothers doesn't like Superman very much. It's ironic because it's just it's a franchise character. I mean...
Well, not only that, they put them on the map after Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, they did. I mean... That's another thing too. I mean, look, they had the Superman franchise like in cobwebs for so long after Christopher Reeve. They didn't do anything with it. They had Smallville. They didn't put him in a cape.
Didn't Warner Brothers buy DC about a year or two before Superman came out?
Yeah, like
something like that. Yeah, because they actually did the movie as a negative pickup.
Yeah.
It seems a lot like they don't understand Superman, rather than
No,
just
they don't.
not
They don't.
Yeah.
A
liking
lot of
him.
people don't, sadly. Even a lot of the comic book writers of today don't even understand Superman.
Understatement.
It is an understatement. But like CBS fought
Most
hard
of all,
to do
Zack
Lois and
Snyder
Clark,
and David
and that's what's
Goyer.
kind of really telling is that like during the times when in the in between times before there was Superman Returns and before Smallville and after Superboy, it was CBS that wanted to do a Superman TV series, and they had terrible time negotiating to get that done because Warner Brothers was like, well, Superboy didn't do so well. We don't really want to do that, but like, we own the character. So, and it took a lot of convincing, and to the point where once Deborah Joy Levine got involved, and she said, well, listen, we know we can't do Superman Justice on a TV budget. It's just impossible, but I can make a romantic comedy that has a Superman points, and we can make it true to the character. And that first season, I don't care what anyone says, is actually brilliant when it comes to depicting a version of Superman that's quite hopeful and encouraging, showing him he have flaws and overcoming it and becoming that guy. It's the subsequent seasons after she was ejected from the show where it kind of got terrible.
I don't want to step back too far, but I knew some people didn't know what this meant. A negative pickup is when a film production has spent so much money producing the film, and then a studio picks it up for what's left to be done on it.
Well, in this case, what it was the Selkines bought the rights to Superman, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
They produced the movie, and then Warner Brothers agreed to pay them back and distribute it once it was said and done. But it was their job to put the movie together, put the package together with the actors and all that stuff, actually make the movie itself. So in this case, like when it comes to the original Superman film, Warner Brothers basically had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was supposed to be 2 movies until there was
because they were shooting them
Donner.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
But a negative pickup means that money has already been spent, and the studio recovers that for the production company.
Wasn't that during a time that Neil Adams was trying to get royalties for Siegel and Schuster?
That was right around the same time that
Richard Donner was the one who. Yeah, Richard Donner spearheaded that as well, I believe.
Yeah, he demanded to make sure that their names could be in the created by part of the credits for the film as well. He wanted to make sure that people knew who created Superman.
And he was also the one that had the coolest Easter egg in that film by having the original actors that played Superman and Lois Lane in the very first movie in there.
Neil
in the train, both his parents.
Yep, as the dad and mom of Lois. That was supposed to be young Lois.
Yeah.
9-year-old Lois, yeah.
Yeah, so there's always been this kind of ambivalence towards Superman from Warner Brothers, which is like, that's like Marvel saying they don't like Spider-Man that much. It makes no sense. It's weird, right? I mean, you have this character that everybody in the world knows, and you don't do anything with him.
Well, you really saw this in Man of Steel, because what I always heard is that the issue that they had with Superman was that he wasn't Batman, and they always wanted him to be more like Batman. And you saw this really clearly in Man of Steel, where basically his story, everything mirrors that of Batman. And what I also heard is their intention for Justice League was for it to be Batman, and flying Batman, and water Batman, and woman Batman, and evil Batman.
Yeah, no, he's not kidding, because I heard the same thing.
Yeah, it's true.
And people laugh at me when I say this, but I'm like, no, the reason that Man of Steel is the way it is, the structure it is, the story style it is, everything about it is because they said, look, we just want you to do for Superman what you did with Batman Begins, what Nolan did, and that's why that's all they wanted out of it.
That was their simple collective,
and that's the reason why Nolan came up with the story, and you have his brother and Goyer that actually wrote the screenplay.
And I'm not even going to tear that apart.
Well, Jonathan Nolan shouldn't be writing anything. I mean, God.
We don't have the time for that, because I think, we're getting close to the time where she probably
start talking about. Just like, I haven't even reported on this yet either, but Hamada and Emmerich, they really want to exploit the Batman franchise. They still do. They want to create more Batman spin-off films. I mean,
well, they can hire me. I can create a definitive Batman for them.
Yeah. I mean, they don't care about Superman at all. I mean, it's Batman. Batman is like, well, he made billions for us. The Burton movies and the Nolan films, and they go by what have you done for me lately type of attitude, and they understand Batman, but they don't understand Superman. And quite honestly, they didn't understand Wonder Woman either. They didn't want to do that
Green Lantern or Flash.
Yeah,
God.
well, I'll get the Green Lantern in a minute. Actually, my scoop is based on that. Be very interesting. But the Snyder Cut, they don't want to support it. They're releasing it
Clearly,
pretty much out of protest. That they had no choice. AT&T really pushed this, and also the AT they had no choice. And the social media push from the fans. I mean, obviously they had to listen to that.
we lost you there in a midpoint there. At least I did.
Oh yeah, I said the social media push also helped get that film made. But look at this. They listen to the fans for the Snyder Cut, but they're not listening to the fans for Amber Heard. So,
Well, is that just
Tone
because
deaf.
of AT&T stepping in? Like
Yeah,
they're the ones
AT&T
listening
And
to fans.
this really falls under the thing that I'm wanting to talk about in this is there is an internal war between AT&T and Warner Brothers, and I don't know how Warner Brothers can think they can win a fight with those that are actually writing the paychecks.
I have a bigger question, and that is why does AT&T tolerate such dissent in the first place?
They're figuring out Warner Brothers, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Right there. That's exactly it. Right there.
Yeah, and I think that's where they're getting a lot of pushback, right, Mikey?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, AT&T's priority is HBO Max. That's where they see the money.
I've been saying.
Oh yeah,
It-
they
it-
double dip from that because they're an internet service provider, and then on top of that, you buy HBO Max and you get two bills from one person. You're maximizing your profit.
Well, it's guaranteed money every single month. You don't have to wait until a theatrical release or anything. You can make all that money every month, and so that's what their priorities are. AT&T is not really about the cinemas; they're about streaming.
And not only that, because they're able to make that money every month, they can use that as collateral for all the loans they want for the production, and never have to worry too much about any repercussion from the banks because they're considered the most dependable client of theirs. So they can do Disney is also in the same position as well. So they can do a whole lot if they want to. The only thing that's going to cripple them is if they do such terrible content that they start losing subscribers, so that dependable money ends up becoming shrinking on every quarter.
Can I insert a quick question about the?
Oh, thank God it was just a question. I was really nervous when you said it.
I don't want to make you guys feel bad or anything. Subconscious. No, with AT&T, owning HBO, Warner's, all this.
Yeah.
Aren't we getting into a monopoly type situation? Aren't they going to be busted up just like AT&T was back in the 80s? I mean, aren't they approaching that kind of territory? Or is it always
everybody is technically. I mean, when you look at it, I think everybody is. If you're going to start busting up anyone, I think they're going to aim for Disney first.
Yeah,
they seem much bigger.
I mean, Disney's a landowner, so they're definitely going to target them first.
Right. Yeah. I just see these, huge entertainment conglomerates now that are just, like you say, they own the world. I mean, if you want to, breathe almost, you have to deal with them.
Well, as much as we want to, take the piss out of Disney, though, the problem is with AT&T now, Warner Brothers is technically bigger. Comcast is technically bigger, as far as the company themselves, because Comcast and AT&T basically make Universal and Warner Brothers unbeatable. They can just. That's why they did the Snyder Cut, because it was already half done, and they're like, "Well, fuck it, let's just finish it, and we'll throw it out there." And it was no big deal for them to do that, and that's AT&T just having an endless supply of money.
Yeah, well, right now AT&T and NBC Universal are going to be the big competitors. Mm-hmm. Disney is always going to be a significant force for the next at least 5 to 10 years, I would imagine. But NBC and WB are probably going to be the heavy hitters. And with Paramount having their own streaming service, that's 4 competitive streaming services that are kind of dominant or competing against Netflix. So that prevents them on a legal term from being considered a monopoly, because there is
There is competition.
At least 3 other.
There's
competition
I
for
mean,
them to choose.
you look at television alone, TV, the networks are owned by major studios, and they're in competition with one another that way. But Sean's question, I think, more is the monopolization of theatrical releases, which is something that we're going to see a drastic change in. We saw this change coming over a year ago, and then we get hit with the virus thingy. I won't say the name, but and that, of course, has done damage to
Discovery
movie theater. Discovery. Disco. So
this relates to Sean's question. Like, isn't Disney getting close to overextending themselves right now? Because they've had a couple of big hits.
They all are.
Well, not so much Universal and AT&T, and that was my point. Is they're going to be fine through this. They're weathering this just fine and dandy, and that's where, I mean, unless Mikey disagrees with me, where I've been reporting since the start is, even if we weren't in the middle of this this viral situation, they would still probably be putting a lot of their big hitters on HBO Max right away, just to push it.
They would be. Yeah, because on AT&T, their focus is totally on HBO Max. And this is actually good news for Snyder fans, because if Snyder Cut performed as well as they wanted to, AT&T is going to want more Snyder on HBO Max. I mean, it's a given. And nothing Hamada can do to stop it. I mean,
the release, because that was the question I wanted to ask earlier, is the release of Godzilla versus Kong seems to be a direct shot across the bow.
It is. It is. It totally is. I mean,
by Hamada and Toby Emmerich.
Yep. All of that. I mean, that and the release of the J.J. Abrams Superman just like a couple of weeks before Snyder Cut.
No, nobody's going to care about that.
Take over the media that week.
Yeah.
No, but I get what Mikey
It surprises me that AT&T would allow such obvious dissent. Like, don't they see that here we have one division that is actually sabotaging our corporate strategy? Because that's what it is. It's corporate. It's like in turn one division sabotaging another. And of course, the Warner guys, they're probably not caring too much, but you really would think that that Jason Killar, who has no qualms about firing people, would take one look at this and seeing that this is crossing lines. This is like, we invested a lot of money into the Snyder Cut, and these guys are doing this just to undermine it.
Well, here's the thing.
Surprised that it's not been that they don't strike down on it.
Well, they don't want word of the dissent to get out. Is the thing. There's a lot of fire right now with Ray Fisher and all this controversy with Amber Heard at Warner Brothers. They don't want to add to the fire right now that there's an internal warfare going on. But the thing is, if Snyder Cut is a hit, then AT&T is going to say, "Hey, okay, we're going to get more of this. I don't care what you think. We're going to get more of this." And
well, aren't they going to get a lot of competition instantly the next day with Disney Plus's release of
they are
of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, the timing of that, right?
Well, that's Kevin Feige.
Exactly. He's very competitive that way.
This is the one time I think Kevin Feige calling their bluff is going to lose. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I do. I really do. I think after the lackluster performance of WandaVision here in the last few episodes, with the whole Gina Carano thing and the bad blood between, people and Disney, and the simple fact that nobody gives two shits and a fuck about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, I've heard nobody talk about it. Nobody cares. Like, I think more people give a crap about the High Republic at this point. Like, I've heard more people talk about that. I'm not like trying to say that it's going to fail that hard, but like, I really just don't see Falcon and Winter Soldier drumming up the publicity that they're hoping it's going to. And I think the Snyder Cut might take people by surprise. I think it's going to get a lot of views. Now, I feel like it's going to be polarizing, just like BVS was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
it's obviously polarized executives too. So.
Hey, we have a question here from Willie Woodward. Since the big internet Hollywood insiders together, please answer me. Why did Warner Brother consult Bruce Timm and company to develop the DC cinematic universe? They cracked the code before Marvel.
Because while they have done a very good job with Batman the Animated Series and anything related to that, they aren't considered the types of heavy hitters that can handle live action entertainment. Okay?
That's one reason.
That's one reason. Well, then I'll let you go to the rest.
And I want to point out something really nice. I'm going to share the screen real quick. Here you go. We have 91 people watching right now and interacting. So thank you, our Deus, for helping making this so exciting that people are engaging with us.
Well, now I'm all nervous. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I see in the chat, Willie Woodward meant to say, why didn't they consult with Bruce Timm? And I can answer that as well to Keith. Not only is he that they're considered the animation wing and not heavy hitters for live action. A lot of the people at Warner Brothers also know that Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, that entire team, they don't write the way they used to do in the late 80s and early 90s. They've grown distant from those characters because the careers have taken them in other directions. A lot of the ones that are usually in the mid to tier level that kind of negotiate and work with the studio heads in order to get things done of this nature are very aware that if you were to give, and sadly they are doing it, but give Bruce Timm and Paul Dini back Batman the Animated Series for a revival or a continuation, they know it will not be the same, because it can't be. They hit their sweet spot. They ran it out as far as they could until the show was no longer there. They then started doing Justice League Animated and Unlimited, and that was their last hurrah. But if you take a look at the track record of the DC animated films that they've been releasing, the last 17 have underperformed greatly, and even though they do have their hardcore fan base, they are nowhere near the quality of nuance and understanding of the characters that they portray compared to what they did with Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, and even to an extent the Green Lantern the Animated Series. So they are considered to be not viable for this universe. Nobody holds on to that level of quality for the entirety of their lives while working in this industry. There's so much going on. There's so much aggravation, so much mistrust, so much bad deals made, so many dumb decisions doing that it does chip away at the core integrity of the creative, to the point where by the time they do get to the age, by the time they get to a point where you would want to consult them for live action, they just don't have, their hearts are whittled away. They're in their own Hollywood bubble at this point. They don't see the characters in the same light that they did when they first took on that show. You're not going to get Batman the Animated Series back in a live action version or even in an animated sequel the way that it hit 20 odd years ago. They have to find new fresh voices that can emulate that in their own way to maintain that quality.
Isn't half the reason why that's happening is because they're not hiring people that actually like and respect
it's not even the characters about the like and it's not even about liking the stuff, because here's the other part too, and I use this example because it's a very, very good one. It's one that holds true to a lot of creatives. Nicholas Meyer and Harv Bennett didn't know Star Trek, but they knew that they were taking a responsibility, so they learned as much as they could to apply the other writing techniques and their own experiences to this franchise to make something great. And that's primarily what you need. And that's also a mentality that a lot of the execs have. They sometimes don't want hardcore fans of the franchises to be writing it, because sadly hardcore fans only repeat the stuff that they love. They don't try anything new, and there's always pushback from that. What they really want is they want great writers who are in other franchises, especially ones that can be parallel to what the franchise would be hired for to do, to be able to come into it with fresh eyes, learn all about it in a very short amount of time, to be kind of off the cuff experts, and then tell a brand new and interesting story that is faithful to what they just learned. Sadly, they've only got half of that, especially on the Star Trek side of things, where they bring in other writers from shows like Rain, and they say, okay, learn everything you can about Star Trek and give us something new. But they don't learn everything about Star Trek. They watch a couple of episodes, do a wiki, and then they go into it. And that is where you get the disservice of something like Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks to an extent. So that is what it needs to that's what you have to kind of find. You can't just say, oh, hire a fan, because again, you're going to get into that point where someone's going to pitch a great idea for a story, but a fan's like, well, that's against this person's, that's against this continuity, or that story was done in a comic book that's way better. Why don't we just adapt that? It throws the world into a lot of complications where you don't actually end up getting a coherent writer's room that works as a team. You end up getting a divided writer's room where one, much like we see in Lucasfilm, where one half wants to tell these interesting new stories with these characters that echoes what Star Wars is, and then you have another thing that says, well, we just want to slap the Star Wars brand over our own thing, and that's what you've got a battle right now. So that's why they try to avoid it. That's why you kind of want to make sure that you don't go all in.
It seems to be failing. I mean, the last thing they put out was Wonder Woman 1984, and I think we can all agree that was just a monstrosity of a movie.
And Batman.
Well, that was all the people.
Yeah.
I want to ask
all the people who hated Snyder together doing what they wanted to do. This is what happens when you got Zack Snyder out of the way, when you don't have anybody that is able to plan and see the entire board for what it is. And so in the case of Wonder Woman 84, it was completely undone. You had a director that does not like playing within the bounds and the rules of a film. Man, I'm losing words now. Within a film universe. So she likes to play fast and loose. And then you got Jeff Johns, who's basically eager to prove something still after all this time, because he's never really made the breakthrough to film. Television.
Stargirl, and that just shows how poorly endowed he is as a human.
Oh God!
Yeah, and as if you recall, Keith, the first thing I said when we talked about Wonder Woman 84 was it stunk of Jeff Johns.
Yeah,
the bad plotting and all of that. But Mikey, you had something to say because I saw you light up.
And a third reason is that a lot of Warner Brothers executives, they look at TV people as TV people, not somebody you want to put in charge of a film.
Right.
Too much. I mean, Jeff Johns, got away with it for a little bit, but look, he became a bad apple to them. So.
No, I think Mikey's right, because I was kind of told a lot of the same stuff. And not only that a lot of the departments don't even know what the other ones are doing.
No.
It took them forever to get Batman the Animated Series released because it was buried in the family department instead of actually being in DC where it belonged.
And also the rights with Fox Kids and everything. Like, it was a nightmare.
Hey, guys, I have to head to a phone conference. I just want to drop a scoop before I leave.
Yes, let's hear it.
Okay, we're talking about underused characters and iconic heroes that Warner Brothers owns, but they don't really want to use them or they sat on them. My scoop is related to this, and that's Green Lantern. They announced the Green Lantern HBO Max series a few months ago, which actually I scooped that long before that. And notice that Hal Jordan was not mentioned in amongst the Green Lanterns that you're planning on using. And there was some confusion about that. Like, where's Hal? And I found out why. Across the board, from AT&T to Warner Media to Warner Brothers, they're afraid of Hal Jordan, and because of the Ryan Reynolds movie, and they're afraid of the branding because of that film flopping and all the memes that were created to make fun of it. And they're concerned that if they put out a Green Lantern with Hal Jordan, people will think, oh, it's Ryan Reynolds all over again. So
that's just typical for your fucking executives. That's for God.
Tell me how you really feel.
That hurts my soul.
That is Berlanti, and that is Jeff Johns, and that is Guggenheim. All three of them who are currently involved with Superman and Lois are the three that did that.
So what I'm hearing is that they're saving Hal Jordan for either the season ender or the second season. They're going to save him. He is going to show up on the series.
Oh, thank God!
But not for a while. I mean, they're going to brand these new characters first to let people know, hey, it's safe to go in the water. You're not going to get a Ryan Reynolds out of this. Like, do they think we're that stupid?
Yes, I mean, actually, no, they do.
Well, the logic is just flawed. That's like saying you can't have another Batman after the Bat Nipple fiasco.
There you go. You know?
Especially considering how many Batmans we've had since then.
Yeah.
But think about how long it took though from Batman and Robin to Batman Begins. They sat on that property for a long time.
That's
like how many years was that in between those films?
8.
Oh my God! Can you? Who has sitting on $1 billion franchise for that long?
Well, I mean, you know,
Star Wars. Actually, Disney did with Star Wars. Or sorry, Lucas.
Actually,
Star Wars.
there is now a longer period of time between us and the Green Lantern movie than there was between Batman and Robin and Batman
That's
Begins.
9 years, right? 9 years already. Wow.
That's 10 years. 10 years. Like that movie came in 2011.
Yeah.
It's 10 years. And there was only 7 years between Batman and Robin, and 7? No, 8 years in between. Between the two, between the release dates at least, in terms of like getting into production, it would have been less. But yeah, so we are now in a longer period of time between or since the Green Lantern movie than between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins, which tells me we have a worse set of executives right now than we did then.
Yeah.
You do.
And that, brother.
So they're going to leave Hal Jordan out of all the marketing, everything, and
that's
like
just ridiculous,
surprise,
Mikey.
you know.
That's crazy, Mikey. Do you guys have any questions before we lose Mikey?
Yes, I have
that
one.
includes
I
the
have
chat.
A good one.
Go, Andre, go.
John Constantine in the Sandman series.
Good.
Yeah, I reported the scoop from Small Screen.
But Neil Gaiman, he said like no, they got it confused with the audiobook, but he didn't deny it. He didn't say no, it's not him.
I'm confident, even though it wasn't my scoop. I'm confident it is him. But obviously, they're not going to announce that until it's ready. Because the report actually said that he is doing the audio broadcast too. So
it did. God, I hope it's going to be
that'd be great. But now that J.J. Abrams, see, I knew he wouldn't use Matt Ryan. I knew he wouldn't use, but obviously he's going to do his own thing. I remember I told you, you guys, when I was on your show before, that, if J.J. Abrams does any DC stuff, he's going to impose his own vision on it. His own cast, everything will be like his own. He doesn't care about, the source material.
Please no. Please no.
Well, no.
Doing it
It's a
because
good
he
idea.
wants a cut of the franchise, the franchise and merchandising. That's what he's doing. That's all he cares about.
Yeah.
All right, Mikey.
You can.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Mikey,
Thank you so much, guys. Please
hold on. You got one more question. One more question before you go.
Right.
Sox wants to know: is there any news on Nova?
Not lately, but he is coming. I mean, I haven't got any updates since I last scooped him. Last I heard that he was going to debut in Captain Marvel 2. That's the last I heard.
Well, and I remember that. I remember when you posted about that. Well,
it'll be a cameo type of thing. I mean,
I want to thank you for coming, Mikey.
Thank you so much,
really
guys. Talking to you for
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that you and Andre finally got to be in the same room.
I know you're there all the time. It's just
now you know what I'm talking about with the voice.
Yeah, this is great. And while I'm finally, after all these decades, I'm finally on Hollywood Squares. Who would have thought?
Yeah, but Script Doctor bumped you. You're now over on the right hand. That would be Buddy Hackett, I think.
Well, hey, everyone, check out geekositymag.com. I'm scooping every day or writing a story every day. It's been a crazy ride since the Spider-Man thing that from almost 3 years ago now.
It's been such an honor, and I know I'm speaking for
Thank you so much. Thank you
for all of us on the dais here. That being a friend of yours and being part of it has been an absolute honor, my friend.
Thank you. Same here. And beware of J.J. Abrams' next DC project.
Oh, I've been cautious of him since Lost.
Oh my God!
If he had the right, Skywalker was bad. Man.
All right, Mikey, take care and thanks for coming, man.
Take care, guys.
Thank you,
I'll be
Mikey.
around.
Bye.
Hi, Mike.
Bye.
Nice finally getting to talk to you.
There you go, guys. And hey, Midnight's Edge. Even though Rob's not here, I got 2/3 of the team. I'm glad you guys came and joined in on this because you guys are really our closest friends on the interwebs.
You guys are the 60 minutes of nerddom. You realize that, right? That is exactly what you guys are.
And Script Doctor, you are a top-notch dude. I love your thinking. Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeti's okay.
Oh God, I knew you were going to do that. I knew it was coming.
You've already gotten used to how dickish I am with my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that my
he
buddy
likes me.
He likes me. He insulted me. And of course, I'm glad that our editor director rumpled just the tip of the skin. Charlie Bruce was here. He's never gotten to really sit in on the dais, and I thought this would be nice for him to have some fun meeting you guys and understanding why we had so much fun doing what we do. Yeah, you can get off camera again, Charlie.
Oh, he's tall. He's really tall.
He's actually taller than me. But yeah, when my dad kicked me out, that's who I went and stayed with, is Charlie. That's how old of friends we are.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
But
well, look, what information then today? Asking all of you, what was the biggest surprise? Anything?
Yeah, to me at least, it's that the Warner executives are so completely and utterly out of touch that they think that Hal Jordan is now cursed and can't be used, even recast, because of Ryan Reynolds. Then I take it that Ryan Reynolds probably isn't going to show up in the Snyder Cut, because I would give them a freaking fit with it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have a question for all you guys. Did you think Ryan Reynolds was good in the role of Hal Jordan, just in a really bad movie with a bad script and dialogue? But if he was given a proper one, he'd pull it off? Or did you think he was wrong for the part?
I think he was wrong for Hal Jordan. Maybe better for Kyle Rayner.
Probably. I look. The script was not good. The script was pretty much the basic formula for everything that Berlanti has done on television. He was just starting to figure it out. Because if you go back and watch, true. But if you look at the beats of that movie and how they do things, and you look at how he puts together all his shows, at least the CW DC shows, you're going to see the basic structure for a lot of that in there, at least within the first season or two. He's never going to figure this out, in my opinion. You know, it's I don't care how much of a fan he says he is, he just doesn't have it. And I hate to be that guy, because I was really pulling for him in the beginning. But it also seems like Jeff Johns has lost his ever-loving mind. The dude is not only just cursed, he's an asshole.
Yeah, there's that. Well, here's the other part for Berlanti. So Berlanti has been trying to copy what Christopher Nolan did with Batman Begins, and he just doesn't understand it. Because, again, like the Arrow pilot, when that circulated around, it was literally just Batman Begins on a micro budget, because the Arrow had like military grade, like plated chest armor, and I'm like, why would he do this? It's all crazy. And then on top of that, even the he follows the same beat formula. He's got it down to what he likes, and it does seem to be somewhat successful-ish for the CW shows, given their budget ratio to what they make in profit. But he really is completely he's a casual learner with regards to the superheroes. He knows that it's a relationship based for television, and he knows how to do that well and do the sappy drama and the talking in hallways and an action series that has no action. But he just doesn't have any depth to what he's writing or to what he's overseeing as a producer. And it's really telling, because what we're going to be seeing now is this is like this. We're in the second generation of his universe called the Berlanti universe, so to speak. It pretty much kicked off with Batwoman, and now we're seeing a little bit of a boost with Superman and Lois, but that is going to be tumbling down pretty soon, I'm sure. Because again, it's using all low-hanging fruit to try and draw on the audience. It's like, oh, we can win over audiences by showing Tyler Hoechlin in the Ruby Spears. The Ruby the Ruby Spears Superman costume, and people are gonna love that. It's like, yeah, that's not a good enough. That's your low-hanging fruit. It's like, oh, we'll do one better. We'll have him put down and rescue the green car, like on the Comic of Action Comics #1. It's like, well, he didn't rescue that car. He threw it into a bunch of rocks. So you clearly don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Superman's history. And then there's like, okay, well, we'll still make him charming and hopeful. It's like, okay, that's good. But why would he be also a bumbling fool in front of his kids to maintain the Clark Kent persona? Like, it just does. Like, it's things where he's like, okay, we get a little bit of this, but we completely don't get all of that. And
you mean like where General Lane wouldn't have any anti-Superman weapons from years ago to use?
Well, that was kind of weird, you know.
I think those are stored somewhere.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you bring them out? I mean, against someone or something that obviously comes from Krypton, and you don't use them against that.
Well, here's the other part too. So they skipped over quite possibly one of the better or most interesting stories you could tell when it comes to the relationship between Clark, Lois, and Sam Lane, and that is Clark winning over Sam Lane eventually. Because you know he's the guy that it's a great story of the father not approving of the man his daughter's dating type of thing, but
that's
coming to terms
Sam
and understanding that he's actually the best thing for his kid and the best thing for his life. And it's a long story arc.
But he ended up concentrating and hating someone else. Clark actually became the nice one, in his eyes, compared to who Lucy ended up marrying.
Well, yeah, you can go if you want to go into the old comic book version of take of that. I would be like, well, let's take a look at what Sam Lane's character was in the comics and how he and then what can we extrapolate of who he is based on how he raised how we see Lois and Lucy as characters. And then the thing is that you can see the fact that both those characters have a stubbornness to them at the start, and then those walls break down as they start to expand their horizon in the world. It's like, okay, so if they're capable of doing that, their father should also be capable of doing that as well, because there has to be a point where it's like he clearly can grow as a character, because if he's such a jerk the entire time, no woman would tolerate him enough to have kids. So like you got to kind of like extrapolate the fact that he's also a military guy. One thing that successful military generals, especially 4-star ones, do is they know how to learn. And whenever I see these stories where Sam Lane's just constantly in that perpetual cycle of I always hate Superman, it's like he's not the type of guy who would do that. He would actually be more of the type of guy that says Superman has to put America first instead of saving people all over the world. And that would be their main point of contention, to the point where they actually accept each other. And we're not actually going to be getting that in something of Superman and Lois, because the writers of that show, as we've kind of seen from some of the media coverage, care more about the physical appearance of these characters as opposed to the relationships.
Wow. See, this is why Kevin Feige is not only just the GOAT, but a unicorn at the same time. This goes to show that there is really not much hope for any franchise outside of the MCU, and especially for DC. There was never any hope for Fox with X-Men. That was just all kinds of inconsistent and mainly bad, in my opinion. And why Sony really needs Kevin Feige. They just need him.
Well, Warner Brothers needs to actually create a Detective Comics studio. They don't have that.
They don't have it at all.
Independent studio that's overseen by Warner Brothers, that's got its own head, that's got its own infrastructure, and that has a long-term, that has technically a 10-year game plan.
Oh, geez, this is never going to get better.
Because the DCEU, as so many people put it out, that's made by a journalist who's just trying to compare it to the MCU. The DCEU does not exist. Under Warner Brothers, they're just called DC films. Like, and not even as a title. It's like, no, those are Detective Comics movies or films. Like, whatever. Like, we don't. They're not under an umbrella. Like, so that's the other part too. So it's always crazy how that term is caught on, even though it doesn't actually exist.
Mm-hmm. You're right, but again, as I was saying, it's something that people need to understand, that it's not just a DC thing. It's really a Fox thing. It's a Sony thing. It's a Universal thing, and it's a Paramount thing.
Yep.
Everybody really needs to have a Kevin Feige, but they're not willing to imbue someone with that power. They're just not willing to do it.
Well, Kevin Feige wasn't even imbued with that power. He earned that. I mean, it took him a long time. So who else? I would not be surprised if there's a handful of people that could potentially become a Kevin Feige. But it's just a matter of time and also perseverance on their part to make sure that they can attain that position.
Well, the thing that he probably did that was very smart was having each individual film set out, ahead of time. So he didn't have to have that overarching power, but then those little nuggets that end up creating a longer storyline. So once he does have the power, it's all set up under an umbrella story. And you can kind of see the little breadcrumbs. He probably didn't need a huge amount of power to get those little bits done.
Well, I mean, even what they ended up doing at DC, with the DC films up to this point, it would have had a better chance of working if you would have had the kind of relationship, you would have had someone like a Kevin Feige that had that kind of power to make those movies. You almost don't need to set out individual films as long as you don't get interference and you know what the heck you're doing. You can do this. Okay, it is possible. But it's easier to go the route that the MCU did. And so that's my take on it. What they did was easier, but it wasn't impossible with the plan that they had going through with the DC films starting with Man of Steel.
I don't know if it ever would have caught fire the way the MCU did going up to the Avengers. Because there was a slow build, there was flops and failures as they learned and figured out their own method, and then.
Well, I see what you're saying, but you also have to understand the pressures of DC films and characters are slightly different than Marvel, because you have had over 80 years of people getting used to and understanding in their own minds who Superman, Batman, technically even Shazam are, versus Marvel, because only one Marvel character has been around in Hollywood for 80 years, and that's Captain America. Outside of that, none of the other Marvel characters have had that kind of track record, so they don't have that kind of familiarity with the general public worldwide.
I still don't know if even that little extra that what you're just talking about, I don't know if that would still generate the same type of fanfare as Avengers versus Justice League if you don't have the characters set out ahead of time, so you get to know them, and then there's over the course of 5 years the fans just getting that excitement. Oh, when are they going to meet?
But yet, right what I mean is, because they didn't have that kind of familiarity worldwide, you had to do individual films to cover that. See, everybody knows Superman's origin. It has been retold so many times. You almost didn't need to do it with Man of Steel, but because they took a slightly different turn and they were kind of doing, again, in my opinion, Christopher Nolan's Man of Steel, you wanted to show that. Well, you didn't need to do that. You really don't need to do that with Batman either. Everybody knows their stories, okay? Way back in 2000, if you had asked the normal, average, non-comic book person on the street who Iron Man was and what his story was, do you know how many people would actually be able to tell you?
Oh, it would have been much smaller compared to Batman.
Very small.
Superman.
And you would have had to do that with all of the Marvel characters who now, when you look back on it from 2021, oh, of course.
Okay, but knowing their backstory and seeing it are very different.
Yes. I'm just saying that.
Well, you don't need an origin. You need an introduction. That's a whole different thing. Like, you can introduce the character without doing an origin story. And that's kind of what DC could have done, and in my opinion, should have done, but failed miserably at it because they did not get the correct creative team behind them. I mean, the one thing that ticked me off with Batman Begins, even though I think it's a pretty fine movie, is it's the way that it told the origin. It just made it into an origin story as opposed to making it a mystery that sort of like trickles out the origin for Batman. A little bit in the way of like what Sam Hamm did with his Tim Burton Batman film. It was like, oh, we got a couple of little tidbits of the origin, but we didn't get the entire training montage. We didn't get all the crazy details into like, how he picked the costume and the bat and all that stuff, like, because that's not really important at this point. One of the coolest things about writing, not just for comic books and stories and novels and pulps and all that stuff, is that you introduce the character, giving them a decent kind of a mystery or mission for them to do that slowly gives out some information, but you don't hit them on the origin until you've hooked the readers into the actual character itself. Like what has been happening over the last like 25 years is they're trying to say, we're going to make the origin hook you. But the origin is not the character as the character will be through the entirety of that series. It's the building blocks of it. So what ends up happening is that you're trying to hook your audience with an unrefined character and then build that character along with them, which can work usually for like a teen drama audience, but it doesn't really stand the test of time as intended. What you want to do is you want to have a very strong out of the gate story where the character, goes through an arc, achieves a goal, and is victorious. And then as you like earn the confidence from your audience that, you can tell great stories, especially with this character, that's when you start exposing the origin, where you have another adventure that sort of harkens back to how they started or how they took this path. And it's like a coming to terms, like of a before and after coming of age type of follow-up. That is usually your kind of better strategy, especially in a market today where basically you're dealing with the shortest attention span available to you that we've ever had in our history as a species. Like you've got less than 3 minutes to hook someone's attention with a character, and then if you can't do them in that 3 minutes, you're done. Like they're checking out for the rest of the experience. And that's the sad nature of it.
And that's where you come in with what DC did, with what Fox did with X-Men, because really that wasn't X-Men, that was all Wolverine buildup. That entire thing was built around Wolverine, not around the X-Men. And when Kevin Feige learned that mistake working at Fox. I mean, being around these movies, looking at what they were doing, looking at what Sony was doing, you could extrapolate what to do and what not to do in order to make this work. Okay, but it's a formula that everybody prior to the MCU's rise was using. Okay, and so all the other studios, Warner Brothers, the aforementioned Fox, Sony, everybody, they basically operate the same way. And the MCU and Marvel Studios are different. Really, I mean, they're so different. They're even counter to what Lucasfilm was doing under Disney. So, it is next to impossible to get this going. It is going to be a long time before you see someone else come in that can do what Kevin Feige's doing. So pretty much it's the MCU's to lose at this point. You might see some weakening here and there, but unless somebody else steps up, two things are definitely going to happen. The quality eventually, the numbers are going to catch up to the MCU. People are going to get a little tired of it. And I think Kevin Feige realizes that.
Well, I mean, the MCU numbers are going to decline so that WB can catch up. That's how it's going to be, because my gut feeling, or not so much my gut, but like the back of my head, a little voice is telling me that Marvel is going to misstep and lose their audience based on the fact that they can't nail down their pacing for their Disney Plus shows. They'll be fine for the films, but WandaVision did not hit the way that they wanted so far. By taking a look at the basic trendings and some of the common reviews going up there, it seems like there's a growing consensus that WandaVision did not execute the way that the town was hoping it would.
It was a complete dud, if you ask me. But I think that WandaVision was really unlucky with that whole Gina Carano thing, because I at least noticed that at that moment, And it could be because there's such a huge overlap between the Marvel and Star Wars fan base. And in that moment, when Gina Carano was fired, everyone threw their hands in the air and like, just, I'm out. And I think they were out of WandaVision too, because all I saw was like, it was like artificial attempts at creating a hype that wasn't really there. And I have to say that the final episode, which I have seen now, what an incredible letdown.
I haven't watched the last like 4 or 5 episodes or whatever.
Yeah, because when you see that on a whole, all I could say is you could make that or re-edit that into a pretty solid hour, 40-minute movie that would probably fit within the regular MCU. But there's so much meandering and odd pacing, and it just didn't hit the way it was. And the other
they were trying to manufacture something. They were trying to manufacture the kind of hit that you now sort of associate with Netflix.
Well, it's not so much a manufacture. I think they were just trying to say, oh, we have this story, but it's not going to hit. It's not long enough for a 9-week run. So we got to stretch it out. And it's like, no, you don't ever stretch out a story. You don't vamp a story to hit a target runtime, because it's all about the bare essentials. You get to the point. You make every beat have importance and hit, and you want the character development to count. I mean, because structurally, like based on the overall parts where it's like, oh, she's lost her or the love of her life. She's coming to terms with the grief. She gets basically you have a 9 series with only one great line in the entirety of it, which is, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Like that's the best line they have in that entire series, and
that wasn't
the rest of the series doesn't justify.
Line.
And that one line is too good for the rest of the show, and that's the problem. Like you cannot have a line that good and the rest of the show not live up to that theme and that arc. And the whole
also they didn't strongly place this where it is within the MCU, because I kept being asked exactly where this fits in, you know,
right after Endgame.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right after,
and this is like what, 3 weeks after Endgame?
Yeah,
3 weeks after Endgame, where Spider-Man Far From Home is a year after Endgame.
Yeah, because it hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, it has not happened. So if people are still confused about that, yeah, of course you're going to have problems.
Well, that's why they never should have done the 5-year time jump too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
because I remember the stories of that, like the Russo brothers and Feige, they all pitched it around to each other and they liked it. And then they told one of their editors, the film editors that they did, and he's like, "Well, if you can pull it off, it'll be amazing."
Well,
but
I think
they didn't really pull it off. They pulled off Infinity War beautifully. But not Endgame.
I could argue a little bit for Endgame, but I was just going to say, I think part of the reason they were doing the whole time jump thing is because weren't they stuck so far in the past in their continuity, because each of the movies took place so close in order that they were only like in whatever it was, like not so far out from, you know, when Avengers happened in 2012 or whatever. You know,
like the Avengers apparently, I guess, took place still in 2009.
That's what I'm saying. So like they were way back in this like thing, so they had to kind of jump to get to the modern day. Was kind of the whole thing.
Well, you'd think that, but then Infinity War takes place in 2019. So it's like, well, what the heck? Like, why jump into the future, right?
Well, they're jumping in, and so they're caught up by the time they get to the mutants. Because that was something I wanted to ask Mikey about, but he didn't have time to talk about it.
Oh yeah, they're never going to call them X-Men.
No, I told everybody that, and everybody said I was fucking crazy. What, like a year ago now, Andre? I've been telling people this for a year because I talked to somebody, and they said around Marvel right now in the office, they are not allowed to refer to the X-Men as X-Men. They have to call them the mutants. And I said, I bet you $5 to donuts that when they announce whatever Disney project they're going to do with X-Men, it's not going to be called X-Men. It's going to be called the mutants. And what did we learn last night? So again, Tom,
you tell us.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah, well, the rumor is that the mutants is actually going to be a Disney Plus project.
Regardless, it's their X-Men universe.
Yeah, but the reason they're calling it the mutants, or what the talk around the rumor mill is that it's going to be not focused on X-Men. It's going to be about all these other mutant things going on. So X-Men, X-Force, Brotherhood of the Mutant Brotherhood, and Friends of Humanity, all those things are going to be involved in this. It's going to be kind of like Heroes.
Yeah.
That's
My
what
guess
I've
is
been informed of.
I think people are right about the whole Hexmen thing becoming a thing, and then it'll be shortened to X-Men, and then they'll have a line at some point where somebody says, well, that's a little exclusive if you call it X-Men, and it'll never come up again.
Could be.
I think that's how they'll handle it.
Well, they also, I think they may also try to mix a little bit of the Inhumans in with all this too. They're going to try to sneak those guys in.
Well, because remember, you're right, and you might be right about that, Keith. Because initially, Feige's plan was to use the Inhumans like the X-Men
to bridge into the X-Men.
Yeah, since he didn't have them at that time, but now that he does, I'm sure he's just going to repurpose a lot of those ideas, especially since the Inhumans fell flat on its face. And I think the same thing was going to be said for the Eternals as well. And I think that's another property why they really haven't got behind, because we haven't seen shit other than that crappy looking calendar, which I don't know if you saw that, Andre. I forgot to bring that up on the last two morning shows. They have this crappy looking calendar. That's our first look at the Eternals, and oh my dear Lord God in heaven, I have no idea what they did, but it looks bad. Holy cow. And speaking of Disney and Star Wars, this is something I've been sitting on for a while, as you had on the screen before. You can bring it up now if you want to, Gary. But yeah, they took down the Leox Giassi trailer.
Yeah, because I've been wanting to ask you guys, and I didn't want to diverge, because I know diverge. You guys are, I'm not sure, need to go to Friday Night Tights. Is that what's going on?
Friday Night Tights has started, so yeah, I gotta head out here soon, and
you and Andre
gotta head out eventually to do some things too. So
let's see if I can find this damn thing again.
It's down. It's just I said no page there, so it's not that big of a deal. So sorry, this page isn't available. So yeah, they took it down. That trailer
from Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
because of all the jokes about like the Rock Navigator.
We have it recorded in our live stream.
Yeah.
Good. Then for posterity's sake,
I didn't even get to see how many people like my comment. Damn it, Andre.
I mean, it was ridiculous, and I'm like thinking, okay, so you got a navigator that looks like a rock. And all I'm thinking of, are they going to like throw the rock on the gas pedal and then walk away from the cockpit so they can go eat or something? It's just, what's the point?
Oh, that's the autopilot.
That's the autopilot. Yeah, it's a rock.
Oh man, this deal just gets worse and worse.
Everyone loves you. Comment, Tom, according to Mark's 47.
Yeah. The problem is that I worry that I don't even think that Marvel has it in them to make a recovery either, because like WandaVision is seriously, they have nothing until Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, really, do they?
Yep. I mean,
because I agree
Falcon and Winter Soldier
that
is probably going to perform the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, is there anyone excited for it? Like anyone here at the panel, who's excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I know that I did not care the second it was announced.
I'm curiously, not so much excited, but curiously interested in the She-Hulk, because it's a character I adore, and the fact that some of the people on the writing staff are actually competent, not the crazy.
Not the showrunner.
Well, the showrunner is good, because the showrunner no one's talked about. We've only talked about the one of the staff writers who wrote that terrible book that Tom has a copy of. Yeah. She's a staff writer, not a showrunner.
Okay, so that's good. So she's just a reading of many in the writing staff.
I can't remember her name, and I don't want to.
Emma Godfrey.
Yeah, so like they can have her on like for diversity purposes, but like in reality, they can like just have all the good people actually do the writing.
Well, to go back what I said before, though, like I said, I don't think there's any interest. And when I brought it up earlier, one person that I can recall from watching the chat brought it up, and all they said was they weren't interested in it. Otherwise, nobody else even mentioned it. So right there is my point. Like nobody's talking about it. It's almost like a non-starter. We all kind of know what to expect from it already, and I really think we all know it's not going to be anything we want. So I just. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if they, and they're going to try to make it look like it's a hit. But let's remember, guys, WandaVision was getting thrashed by repeats of Mandalorian and Cobra Kai, according to Parrot Analytics. And that was in its first run still. So that tells me that there just wasn't that much interest in WandaVision to begin with. And then when they lost all the interest after this last couple of weeks, man, and I've got nothing but people just coming at me like, in my messages going, this sucked. I'm so sad about what happened to WandaVision. Man, WandaVision fell off a cliff. That's all I keep hearing. I was so disappointed. So I think that bolt between those few things, all that's going to kill the momentum going into Winter Soldier. Nobody's going to care. And what is it going to have to offer us, really? Can anybody think of anything that might come out of that series that is going to be remotely like, oh, that's like show-stopping? Because what did we get out of WandaVision? Something that went absolutely nowhere. Something that got all our fucking hopes up, and then it got dashed.
You know what it was? It was 9 episodes to introduce the White Vision and Wanda understanding that she's got magical powers. That's what it was. 9 episodes of that.
Well, and we all sat here and thought for a while like they were going to open up this multiverse. No, they're not. Not like we really want.
Also, I have to say what was incredibly disappointing is that they pulled the exact same thing on that note, Tom, as in the Amazing Spider-Man, or in Spider-Man: Homecoming 2, Far From Home, whatever. You were like, multiverse. She ripped Peter from the multiverse. No, it's just some asshole neighbor that she imbued with speedy powers, seemingly.
And out of work actor that she grabbed.
Yeah, that was so fucking annoying. I was so let down by that. I'm like, oh, fuck you guys.
I mean, we are going to get a multiverse, but I think at this point we've all realized that it's not going to be what we're hoping for.
No, the multiverse are going to be basically Wanda projections of sorts, as opposed to actually transdimensional things.
That's what it
didn't the director or
no, I'm gonna step up here for Das Wolfen. It's like I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm not excited by it. My pulse didn't jump. I can show you. I'll hold it up to the camera here. Hold on. No pulse jump. See that? No pulse jump.
No, and I'm glad to hear it.
But I will watch it because I like Bucky and I like the kid playing Falcon. I think they're good.
Oh, and it's like Anthony Mackie. Yeah.
Not a show I would have asked for.
I think the only revelation we're going to get out of it is that they might be setting up a secret Captain American, either movie or series.
I'm thinking that is...
Well, they got USA Agent, so...
Well, what it is what I'm talking about is we've kind of gotten to this point where I think, and I've brought this up a while now, and I've been pretty right on a lot of my other predictions as far as the shit goes or things that I've heard. So I think, we're kind of leading to this point where we're going to see what happened, what Captain America did all those years as Nomad or some other character, and then that's going to answer the question everybody has is where was he when all this other shit was going on? And we get to see the stones being put back and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what's going to happen. That's going to go in that direction while all the other stuff goes in the multiverse direction on screen, but I think script's right. I wouldn't get your hopes up anytime soon for any kind of special magic, Spider-Verse thing. Mm-hmm. It's probably just going to be projections of Wanda doing whatever.
Fat Stevens says Agents of Atlas.
Yep, that's what I'm hoping for.
And Secret Invasion he brings up too.
Yep. And I think they'll steal a little bit from Secret Wars possibly. Because again,
hopefully just the good shit.
Well, and even though the contract on what's his face, Tom Holland, is up after Spider-Man 3, he has said that he's more than willing to come back, right? And he's going to make it more than difficult for them to continue to do what Amy wants to do over at Sony with Spider-Man. Because let's be real, if you kept up with any of our reporting, you know damn well what she's up to.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you like Spider-Verse or whether you're a fan of the MCU version, I think the bottom line is this. Amy Pascal is only worried about herself and herself only in her little fucking corner and trying to make Spider-Man its own thing. And if she could yank him out of the MCU tomorrow and still make you think he's in there, she would. She's the one who's behind all that. I guarantee you it was Tom Rothman. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's probably been one of the most saving graces and one of the best things to ever happen to Sony in decades. Like, fucker come in and he cleaned house, and I guarantee you he's the one that told Amy, make this fucking deal happen, and you better guarantee that it happens for the next, I don't care how many years, because I don't want to deal with this fucking Spider-Man crap. He doesn't like these things. He has not even been remotely fucking
interested
coy about it. Like, I've seen him in interviews, like, just scoff at fucking superhero shit. Like, he's had other people just, like what Andrea said early in the videos, before I was even part of the channel. I have seen that shit play out on screen in the past couple of years. Motherfucker hates this shit. I mean, he thinks it is the lowest of the low.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, he does not consider it cinema in the least. Like that shit that Martin Scorsese says and everything, that's how Hollywood in general looks at superhero movies, guys. So as soon as they can make this shit end, they will. All Tom Rothman wants to do is make movies like Baby Driver. That's what he wants to do. Yep. That's the kind of shit he wants to make. He doesn't want to make such and such Part 6 or Superhero Reunion Part 12. He could give a fuck about Spider-Verse. The only reason that thing even got any notice on that is because of the Oscar. If that had not won the Oscar, guess what? Spider-Verse was a failure financially. It is the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
So,
you got a question, Tom?
Wasn't there a rumor that Sony Japan told the U.S. division to play ball? Yes, exactly, that too. And I'm sure Rothman got that heat and he agreed. Because Amy was kicked the fuck off the lot. Like literally removed from the lot. The only reason she's even involved in this shit is because she got a little hooks into Spider-Man. And even didn't she even push Avi Arad out too?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she did. And Avi also, I mean, a lot of other people helped her because they all hated Avi, but yeah.
Well, regardless, but that's the thing is, like, Amy was a useful idiot for a while until her uses were no longer useful. And then she really fucked herself in the whole debacle between, the thing that killed her, which is funny, is she didn't get fired over the fucking email leaks. No, she didn't, though. She didn't get fired over that. She got fired over Ghostbusters and shit, guys. Let's be real here, because she didn't get fired till way after the email leaks.
Yeah, true.
It was Spider-Man and Ghostbusters that solidified her ass getting fired. After Amazing Spider-Man 2, they had enough of that shit. They were not having any more of her. And they kicked her ass off the fucking lot. They didn't even look at what Dan Aykroyd said. Like, I guarantee you he wasn't just talking about Paul Feig either. I guarantee you Amy's involved in that shit too, because she made Sony look bad. I mean,
well,
very
not
bad.
only that, Ghostbusters was like Sony's little secret weapon that they were hoping to, because they've been trying to get a third film made for decades. And when they finally managed to get that step closer to produce it, Sony was really, really happy. And then when, it underperformed, they looked to the people responsible, and Amy Pascal was at the top of that list. Because that was the who's echoing, not me, but that was a key time of the franchises exploding.
Yeah, somebody's echoing real bad.
I just muted mine.
Hello? Anybody echoing?
Is it
It
you?
must be you, Gary.
No.
Now let's talk.
Now it's stopped.
Yeah,
no,
I don't think that was on my end.
I don't know whose end it's on.
That was weird. But yeah, so 2016 was like your pinnacle year of expanding franchises. And when Sony had the opportunity to do that with Ghostbusters and it failed, they were really, really ticked off.
Yeah, I don't know where the major echo's coming from, but it's like double feedback here.
Yeah.
Weird.
Did it stop?
Nope.
No.
I don't know. I've been
okay, because I've been muted, so it can't be me.
Yeah.
I muted for a while. Here, hold on.
Hello.
Also, I'm wearing a headset, so you shouldn't be getting any.
I've got a headset. I tried muting it a couple times.
I'm not hearing it though.
Then it's got to be you, Gary. Which is weird.
Yeah, let me leave and come back. I'll leave and come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that
just happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's gone now. See.
Yeah. Okay.
We're getting some kind of feedback loop in there. Yeah. But anyway, Andre, unless you had anything to say about Amy, I'm done on that. But Keith, it sounded like you had something to say. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I don't. No. I got nothing special to say about Amy at all. She's a really, really smart businesswoman. She was able to maneuver herself into a deal where she locked herself in with Spider-Man, although she's been frankly terrible at it. But yeah. So
yeah, I'm sharing a picture there, Gary.
Vote.
You want to share that on the screen, but I warn if there's any children in the audience, cover their eyes.
Oh my God!
For the individual who said that she was a
top
KK
boob.
wannabe, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures to use sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 peas in a pod.
I feel
There goes
so bad
all my
for Frank
future
Marshall. He
erections.
has to go home to that every night.
2 peas in a pod, right there. These women right here are probably the most responsible for the shit we're dealing with right now than anybody.
Throughout the entire industry, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
These are the
God.
2 most powerful women in Hollywood.
Make it even bigger.
Stop it.
Stop.
And between them, in between them, is the destruction of Ghostbusters, Spider-Man,
Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
probably Indiana Jones.
Ooh.
Probably Indiana Jones. Yeah, I mean that's quite a resume that for these 2 women who are the most popular, or not popular, but like the most powerful women. Yeah, influential. Yeah, and in their wake is only havoc and misery. Yeah, of course you have like the odd good thing, but not genre properties.
Pretty much built on the backs of George Lucas, Stan Lee, and
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
and Jack Kirby.
Right.
And Christian Garcia, I see, is wondering: are we sure they are doing the multiverse in Spider-Man: No Way Home?
They are, but I don't think it's going to be what we think. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's what has me worried now, because I actually like the idea of a multiverse. But if they're just like having Andrew Garfield come in to play some other butthole from the street there, and same with Toby Maguire, that he placed like some other completely non-character, like they did do this with Pietro. Like really, that killed the show for me. That Pietro wasn't the same Pietro. He just like something to fool the audience with. That he's
it seemed like a real pussy move to
that was.
See, this is what the show. I suspect that WandaVision is setting it up so that the multiverse of madness is basically Wanda has figured out a way to rewrite the entire world as she did in New Jersey, but she keeps changing it every so often, causing Doctor Strange and all the other characters involved to still retain themselves, but be stuck in this ever-changing world. And I also think she's going to try and find a way to do it so that she's not controlling the minds of the people in a nightmarish situation like she did in the New Jersey thing, where there's some sort of reconciliation where they just have to force themselves to readjust to the world that's being changed around them, so that Wanda can have the family that was taken from her.
Oh God, horrible.
I really thought it was going to be a bridge between some of the universes, bring in some of the comics with the MCU. I thought we were going to get so much more out of that, and just seeing it flop. Oh,
well, you're going to get that, I think, with DC, because DC's, I think, been doing it longer. The downside is there's nobody smart enough and in control with the DC stuff to make it happen the way that it should. I mean, that's the only downside. Look, it's obvious that for right now that it looks like the MCU is going to stumble, but I don't think DC is going to be in any real position to be able to take advantage of it the way that they should. And again, as I keep saying on a lot of our shows, there is more than enough really good IP within DC that you could do something absolutely cool yet different that isn't predicated on Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Yep.
You know,
I pitched a show a couple of years ago for that, and sadly did not take off. Did not get in production.
Ironically, I think the ones that are like best positioned to do something good now is Sony with their standalone projects, because I still maintain that the one Marvel related property I'm excited for right now is the Venom and Carnage movie.
Yes.
I'm more excited for the Venomverse than anything MCU coming at this point.
Thank you on behalf of Javier Rudd, because that was his thing for a long time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing he had.
But gentlemen, I have to be dropping out. I have some other business to attend, plus it's getting quite late here. But thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank
you, Andre. It's always good to have you, buddy.
Yeah, and on that note, I should probably check out myself here.
Well, Fat Steven may have a question.
Fuck you, Fat Steven. Give me $500.
Hey, Fat Steven.
Actually, I wanted to say hi, Andre. I wanted to say hi to you for a while.
That was it's my pleasure. I'm sorry I had to drop out when.
It's
when,
okay. It's a quick
He's
question
like,
I want to ask everyone.
Don't go,
Sure.
Andre.
Shoot.
Don't go.
Gary, 1 second, please. Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
The question is the fact that the way they ended WandaVision is such a disappointing factor in the loose ends. The fact that White Vision was not only had his memories unlocked and was made with outside of Wanda's bubble means that Vision and her the made up Vision, there could have still been a happy ending, yet they refused to take it. Why?
Because they need her to be miserable for later to create havoc later on.
But
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Really?
You have to understand.
Gave up a happy ending where they're still but the thing is that the way they ended with the secret scene and she was listening and she heard the kids scream for help. Why couldn't the Vision still be in that as well?
No, that's a good question. It's part of the convolution that they need to manufacture the conflict for
Doctor Strange.
For Doctor Strange, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
and
my apologies.
I'm completely terrified that... No, don't never apologize. Like, that's awesome. I'm really glad to say hi to you. So, yeah, no, it was so stupid and so lame because, yeah, there you have the Vision. You like White Vision now is identical mentally to the Vision that died. Like, she has her husband back again. He's alive and well for all intents and purposes. And she's denied that happy ending for the very simple reason that the series is about dealing with loss. And you don't deal with loss of a dead loved one by that loved one coming back. It's really that simple, which kind of like undermines the purpose of bringing back White Vision in there at all. Like, they really did themselves a disfavor with it. I will say it was really cool when they talked about like that ship in the museum. That was cool. That was like a nice touch. Yeah. But other than that, it was pointless because there you basically have like, you can have your family now.
This happens so much in the stuff that we like, is that instead of getting a really good whole picture, we get a bunch of moments.
The other thing that bothers me is we didn't get to see the identities of the guys, the twins in the commercial, which could have either been Fenris or Mephisto and Satana. Because when Funko's leak came out from their toy page from the Toy Fair a few weeks ago, they had a figure made of Mephisto, and Funko usually doesn't make characters unless it's in the show itself. So I find it very redundant that they made a mold and a character and put it in their catalog of Mephisto, yet Mephisto didn't show. And the character, where on wallpaper?
Yeah, he did show. It's completely ridiculous. I thought that it was foreshadowing, so it was an even bigger letdown. In that episode where they're like at that fair, right?
Yes.
There's a blow-up doll of Mephisto. That's the only physical presence that he has. There's like a blow-up doll of Mephisto there in that scene.
So is that just going to be foreshadowing for Doctor Strange then?
I was thinking it was going to be foreshadowing for later episodes.
Yeah, that's what I originally thought. But since it's not there, it's got to be for later on.
Yeah, you would think so, but like, what a letdown!
Yeah,
seriously, because I wasn't that excited about WandaVision to begin with. I liked it as it got rolling, although I did feel the pacing was way off in the first 3 episodes because I heard that they cut it up to extend the running time. But now, looking back at the whole thing, what an incredible waste of time.
Even though they have a lot of talent.
Yeah, this stems back from 1989, I believe, or 1986, if we go back to, I think, John Burns or Jack Burns' Vision Quest and Darker Than Scarlet. And the way they have taken storylines from every different thing that stemmed from those 2 issues and literally just decided to make silent nods at it, but not finish it, it leaves any comic book lover or even normies left at a point of going, why did I pay $11 a month for this?
For the same reason that people ended up paying money to watch the same storyline twice from Fox's X-Men. You got X3, and they remade it again as Dark Phoenix.
Does that mean John Boner? But does that mean John Boner is technically a mutant now? Does he still have Quicksilver speed? And
we don't know.
I'm glad he likes Steven Seagal. That was my favorite part. Maybe think maybe watching.
I would imagine that he probably doesn't have the powers anymore. I think that like the witch Agatha, that she bewitched him and she imbued the speed onto him in so doing. That was like me.
Yeah,
my
that's what
reading of the
I got from it
situation.
myself, is that that wasn't his power; it was given to him.
Yeah, from that necklace that he had on that got ripped off.
I appreciate the answers. Thank you, Andre. You do a lot for Midnight's Edge just as much as Tom does a lot for Star Trek. I'm also upset that Professor X was not in his wheelchair. I'm going to stand by that statement.
No, that's very
that
fair
was from
statement.
the stream yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Likewise, it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you as well. We should do this again sometime.
We shall. Most people say that.
Well, this is the season, Andre. If you've missed what I've said in our private chats, because we have a group chat, Keith and I are doing all live streams this year. This is our third season, and we're going to have a lot of you fucking friends of ours on the show, and you and Tom are always welcome. Trying to get Rob on here.
You are also welcome to join the lunch table if you ever want to sit down and just talk about yourself. I know you know Lorena, and I just pretty much am a guy who gets yelled at no or yes, so that's why I'm doing it.
And this one goes to Tom and Andre before you guys leave.
I like you. You have balls. I like balls.
Gary, I want you to get down on your knees.
I love you guys. Anyway, awesome. Andre, Tom, go do your thing, and thanks for dropping in, man.
Absolutely, no problem,
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
Take care.
Nice talking to you, Stephen.
I wish I had your voice, sir. You are great. I honestly love your stuff. You and the other three top channels are pretty much the only ones I watch. It's always great hearing you guys talk.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
You're a dick.
No, here's what I was gonna do to you when you asked your question of Andre. Mid-question, I was gonna drop you.
Oh shit!
But I need a new assistant, Andre.
I like Steven.
Let me know because Gary's failing everybody right now.
No worries, it's all good.
On that note, I think I'm going to drop out since Andre probably will as well. And yeah,
good night, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Good to see you guys again.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, I'm so glad they're gone. Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. I
seriously. Thank you for the invite. I really wanted just to ask like some serious questions because WandaVision was a huge disappointment to me, and I put a lot of work into those shows.
No,
yeah, you did, man. Holy crap!
Put a lot of work, and from the dark hole to the scroll, I called it all. And they just slapped me in the face right after I watched it. I pretty much did a live stream of disappointment.
Don't get me wrong, I got really emotional during the White Vision scene in the library, but I was so disappointed by some of the decisions they made in their writing. And God,
what bothers me, Gary, is the fact that when we get that second secret scene, because they're stupid with you reusing the same stuff, how is it Wanda can hear either Speed or Wiccan calling out if they never existed beyond the reality of a TV world?
Yeah, I sat there going, how the fuck can she hear them? They went to sleep in that virtual world she created.
So that means that she is not. So if she's on a quest to get her kids back and she hears them, does that mean she's going to destroy the realms of all the multiverses to get them?
That's a possibility, but I'm wondering if they were pulled out of that world by somebody else. Now we know it's not Agatha. We know it's not her, but there was somebody else pulling strings in that we still don't know about.
It was Mephisto. It had to
of course
be.
It is.
It falls along the lines with the Fox Kids cartoon with Spider-Man when Baron Mordo, whatever his name. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
Mama and all that.
He when he sends Carnage out to collect souls with the Baron jar.
Yeah.
Agatha, when she found out she could absorb power, she was shocked at first, but she never questioned why. So if she was a vessel like a jar in itself, for a demonic force, they had the ability to bring Mephisto in, and that's how he escaped commercials that wanted to trap them in. And that's why the kids were taken back, because they were technically created from the slivers of his soul. You're meant to set her off the first time. And
hopefully we'll see something akin to that.
I apologize for talking.
What?
Don't apologize. Look, this is a great conversation. And again, see, to me, this entire thing with WandaVision has really been very educational. Because technically you could say now it's officially blood in the water as far as the MCU is concerned.
But the thing think, Keith, you can't even recut the episodes to make a small short film in a way to like a bridge version to actually make it seem better, because the ending destroys all the ability to close loose ends.
Yeah, you basically can cut it up to about the ending of the second act right before you get to the proper climax and resolution. That's as best as you can do at this point.
Yeah, you can start it with Monica Rambeau waking up, and then she's at the bubble, gets sucked in, and then it goes into the intro where you see that Wanda and Vision driving in, and then you cut it up accordingly.
Yep. No, that's a pretty good, solid way to do it. But again, it would be all for naught because there isn't a resolution at the end. Basically, what we have here is an abridged version of a story that's going to lead. That's basically it's all set up instead of being something its own self-contained product, which is what you kind of want to do when you're dealing a long-form story of this type. Is you have to make each individual chapter something that could stand on its own, and this one here clearly could not.
Well, and also it's not enough pain. I mean,
I felt pain watching.
My wallet felt pain.
Well, Endgame again was only 3 weeks before this event. There is not enough pain. I mean, when you see Wanda at the end of Endgame at Tony Stark's funeral, that's shock.
That was the best.
More than anything else, she is still in shock, and
yeah,
that entire funeral must have happened at least a week, maybe after the end of Endgame, after Thanos was defeated. You're talking 2 weeks later. She obviously has nobody. So my disappointment was that, given the amount of time that has passed, that she wasn't even worse off than what we saw. Mm-hmm. Given how much she's lost.
But at the same time, now we're at the point now, does Monica retain her powers? And if so, how is she able to retain her powers while everyone else in the bubble? Do you know what I mean, though?
That's a good question. I kind of wondered the same thing during the scene.
They wanted to create mutants. That makes no sense.
And I think it has to do with the fact that she bonded all of the different versions of herself into one. So she was all of those characters all rolled into one when she was in the universe, and when she leaves it, she is. I want to answer Cristiano Garcia's question here, or Keith can do it, because Keith's more adept at this, explaining where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV series, lay in regard to the rest of the MCU.
Oh, yeah. I was surprised they did not use prop for the Darkhold. That was used on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's right.
For what they ended up using in WandaVision, even though it's supposed to be the same book, and it's also the book that is missing from the first Doctor Strange film. So that book, along with Wanda, is going to play a pivotal role in the Multiverse of Madness. And given how in Doctor Strange they had established that the reading of those books, no matter what your intentions are, something bad always happens, even just opening and reading one page. So she's already started something just by the reading of the book. And they had established that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that once you open up that book, if you are able to read it, bad stuff always happens, no matter what. Even if you close it, you've already started a chain reaction.
But did Agatha open it first before her, though?
Well, you can open it, But in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'd established that unless you can read it, it doesn't mean anything. In fact,
but
so it doesn't have an impact on something bad.
But Agatha stated there was a page dedicated just about the Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
So she read it first then.
Yes.
So she already triggered the events and is blaming Wanda for it.
Yes. This is, look, I say that to say this. There is, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will return. That is information released from Marvel. I don't know if it's going to be a full-fledged series or if it's going to be a limited series to help tie up a lot of loose ends. My personal feeling is that what you are bringing up, Christian, is pretty much going to be the crux of why you would bring Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in a limited capacity, which is it's going to cover the Darkhold, because they are the only characters outside of even anybody remotely related to Doctor Strange that has had any exposure to that book. And that book played a pivotal role in the, the 6th season of the show. So
their seasons are weird.
Sorry, didn't they confirm though that they are bringing back a series, but it's going to be the Agents of S.W.O.R.D.?
That part I don't know. I do know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what they talked about bringing back, and that all of that stuff that they had on the show will be considered canon once everything gets blended together. In other words, having this whole multiverse thing, it is assumed that something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would be something that would be on the periphery, is now going to merge in with the regular MCU reality, even though when the show started, it should have already been a part of their reality. But there are things that occurred on that show that went against what the films were doing. And I think they're trying to figure out a way
quite soon.
They're gonna slowly just tie everything back in, because when it ended, it looked like it was ending where the MCU had ended with Endgame, and definitely what you saw at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home with S.W.O.R.D. So they're attempting to merge everything together. Is really what's happening.
In WandaVision, was anyone else really disappointed with how the head of S.W.O.R.D. was just this one note, basically bad guy? He ran roughshod over everyone below him and basically caused a bunch of chaos. So it was not a leader at all. Anyone?
I didn't like him as a leader, and I didn't like the fact that he was also under the jurisdiction of the FBI and could be arrested. I thought that was BS too.
What also bothered me is the fact that I'm going to go a little weirdness on the Disney stuff in general, that we're getting censor warnings on the Muppets and Aladdin, right? Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yet they can show a guy pull a gun on 2 kids and without thought pull the trigger on them.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
It was so ridiculous. Like his character was so dumbed down. Like, oh yeah, there's kids. I'm just going to shoot at them.
I think I understand what his reasoning was, which is that I think all of the agents, along with Monica, aside from Scarlet Witch, were the only quote unquote real people there. Okay, so anyone that was not one of those aforementioned people was just something that was created and based on, the early episodes where you, being a member of the audience and also watching what everyone at S.W.O.R.D. was watching, you knew that these kids, for whatever reason, weren't really real. So that would be in his mind to be just one more thing that he wasn't really worried about. I'm not saying he should have done it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you're right. The children are technically constructs along with Vision.
Yes.
And everybody else in the town is basically a brainwashed puppet. So
that's right.
We didn't hold a weapon on any of them. Yeah.
Yes, but they had left. They had at least shown that everybody had left. So there was a way out for, quote unquote, the normal people. So everyone that was still there was not one of his people, was a hostile. So he would have pulled a weapon on anybody. Now, I don't agree with what he did. I'm just saying that was what his thought was.
See, but I don't know. I think they dumbed him down just to be the, he was basically, the old white guy that's the bad boss.
Well,
and
I think
he didn't have
the
anything
same,
else going.
His plan is the same basic plan that S.H.I.E.L.D. had when you watched Captain America, and definitely for the first Avengers movie, ultimately, which is to bring unto themselves and control whatever power they find. And
they gave more explanation to that, so there's more of that driving force. In this one, it was they really lacked in that development parts.
Yes. I mean, they should have spent some time talking. Eventually, they should have revealed what led to the creation of S.W.O.R.D. Because my question would be, how do you allow another agency like this to pop up, given what happened with S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah.
They're attached with the Skrull. I think that's what they're going with, because it's more about dealing with the extraterrestrial threats than it is with the earthly threats. It's going to combine both. But
I think an organization like that would have to have many other safeguards built into it, unlike what they did with S.H.I.E.L.D. the first time around. So that's the reason why the FBI can have jurisdiction over them, because you're not going to make the same exact mistake by having this big this big all-seeing, all-knowing agency, which you got to remember also, now that all the information about how they screwed up was released by Black Widow, they also realized how close everyone came to dying. A majority of citizens came to dying because of what they had done.
Well, throughout the world.
When with the plot of Winter Soldier. So you're not going to allow another agency to have unlimited, unchecked power.
Well, here's the other part, too. What crime did the head of S.W.O.R.D. actually commit?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It just seemed like he was just supposed to be the bad guy that stomped on employees. And
he didn't properly go at this the way that Monica did, basically. Monica was about coming in and properly assessing the situation.
Here you go.
Well,
Keith, Fat Steven is sharing his screen.
Oh, cool.
This is
he sent me the link, but for some reason it wasn't opening up correctly. None of this was showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way we can look at it. Explain this, Steven.
Supposedly, this is what's going to be in production, already in production. That's why we're getting things like we're hearing about the Spider-Woman, Pride, Loki, the Young Loki. So this is what I think they're planning. It even has recurring roles with Samuel Jackson. I'll go down here. They're doing about 10 or 13 episodes, and this is what scares me.
Wow.
Yeah, and Talos, that's another thing that bothered me. Why did they just use Talos for this instead of a female Skrull? And was that Skrull Wu's source, or who was Wu's source within the town?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I'm wondering if that was who we met at the ending of WandaVision.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to back up quickly because this is being wonky, and I will go to first. I think that.
Oh, I saw a porn link there.
Yeah, no. But they're getting the normal cast from S.H.I.E.L.D., it looks like. And this one says the release date's supposed to be for January 5th for the MCU. So I'm guessing this is the one that's only going to be for Disney Plus, only 10 episodes, one season.
Andrew Garfield, Taron Egerton.
This is the one that should scare you.
I can't read it.
Brie Larson is.
Yeah. Bradley Cooper, really? Oh, yeah. He's
as Rocket. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep forgetting he's Rocket because that doesn't sound like Bradley Cooper ever.
Yeah, it really does not sound like him.
But
okay, so they're bringing back Ben Mendelsohn. Okay, Billy Crudup. Jeez,
he's supposed to be Death.
Juan Pablo.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Deathlock. Oh, they're bringing back Deathlock. Okay, I'm kind of excited. Okay.
Well, I don't know how accurate is this website, buddy.
I take it with a grain of salt, but if they're going on what it's been announced, this could change over time.
Yeah.
But usually,
yeah. Well, I'm still looking forward to seeing the Black Widow movie.
The other thing is, there you go.
Oh, you want me to show more?
No, I'm down. Tanoa, I can't never say her name. Tanoa Harris as Monica Rambeau will also be good.
I'm happy with that. I think she's a much more interesting character than Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As well as clearly a better actor.
I agree.
But I think I'm going to wrap this up. We're coming to the end here. And how many people did we end up?
You were up at 79 people when I popped in, not on your channel, but
because we're at 90, 91 at one point, and I'm curious where we ended up. I'm just so happy because this stream went so well.
Wow.
Oh, did we just lose them?
Yeah. It's like we're down to 30. We're above our normal right now, and I appreciate everybody sticking around. Hello?
Why did I just hear myself?
That was weird.
Maybe it's the multiverse.
They're coming.
Of madness. But I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm so glad Mikey wanted to do the show. I mean, I didn't ask him. He wanted to do our show. Keith and
I've never been on the show with Mikey before, so that was great.
What do you mean? You were there when we did the phone call.
Well, yeah, but we've never actually had him on the show the way that he
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I was like, are you smoking crack again? Do I need to call your wife?
What?
How is it I'm being more mature than Gary right now? What's going on? Where am I?
I'm always immature, but I'm consistently and steadily immature. So Yeti laughed at that one. Thank you, Yeti.
No problem. I got your back.
Right.
Well, look. First of all, just thank you guys. I mean, you guys
deeply appreciate it. I'm glad you could come, Stephen, because you were on the list of 4 people that I wanted to invite, but I got so wrapped up in getting this thing going, I never got to invite you guys until after we were going, including I wanted to invite Matt Vader and Culture Casino. Because you guys really do ask good questions, and so I was glad I was able to get you on the show no matter what.
Well, I appreciate the invite.
All you guys
Sorry,
all you guys have been fantastic.
Well, if I could get more help in getting things done for the show, I'm not pointing fingers, but I am actually pointing a finger at other people right now that could really help me get a lot of these things done. I really feel we could have a really good regular stream. We want to stream every week, and I want to stream with the guys and gals that I really like streaming with. And I like Kate. She's really fucking cool. I wished I had invited her. But who? Scriptastic.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Oh, yes, let's wrap it up. Jesus Christ, interrupt me again. Anyway, thanks for coming, guys. I really appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, fantastic. I was glad to get some of your questions read on screen. We are eventually, because we're getting really close to 4,000 hours, we'll be able to get some of those, whatever they call them, stickers and
emojis.
The pay for crap and stuff.
The super chats.
Super chat. Thank you. But until then, I want to leave this episode. And with that, I fare you all bid well.
Goodbye, Chocolate Mousse. I'll never forget you. Goodbye, Ducroix. Take care of yourself. Goodbye, Deja Vu. I'll always remember you. And I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow.
Top Secret's a great movie.